Hello and welcome. My name is Dr. John Mason. I'm the founder and main facilitator of Masters of the Journey. Thank you for joining us. Today is a pretty exciting day. It's 3 years in the making. I got a chance to meet KatherineLee Marie 3 years ago when she started coming to our community meetings of Masters of the Journey in Bellingham, Washington. That's in the Pacific Northwest. She started telling her story, her background, her interests, and it just lit me up. It was very exciting, and I couldn't resist saying to her, please let me allow an interview on Zoom so other people can benefit from knowing more about you, Katherine. We've been talking about this for several years, and today is our day. So again, welcome and thank you for coming. Katherine, it's great to see you. I'm glad that we're finally getting a chance to do that. I'd like you to introduce yourself and just give our viewers just a little bit more of a background as to your history and where we're going when we discuss theta healing. Katherine.
Thank you, John. Thank you for joining us in your good words. I want to say greetings to those who are listening and tuning in to watch this video. Welcome you to, and to let you know more about what theta healing work is about and how it's part of my service to humanity and a part of my practice. I am a licensed medical professional as a licensed massage therapist to begin with, and had at one time a holistic health clinic for many years with a business partner who was a doctor of Oriental medicine. So we covered and were able to provide several different services. Then I have evolved into being nationally board certified in therapeutic massage and body work. And in 2009, I was approached by a teacher at a B&I business luncheon meeting, and she asked me if I had any weekend plans, and I said no. And she said, I'd like to offer you a scholarship, and I'd like you to come to my DNA 3 class this weekend on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'll come back to that in a moment. Prior to this, and prior to my gathering of knowledge and life experiences and understandings, I was introduced to meditation in my 20s. I was then introduced to other meditation techniques in my 40s. And coming along at that time, I was doing some open eye Kundalini work, and I was also studying some cultural studies and Tibetan Buddhism with Chinese masters with Tai Chi and Qigong. I got to travel, I got to teach, and all of that culminated in being integrated into me, so it's integrated into my work. And that's a brief encapsulation of my background coming into this work.
Thank you. I know that you've been at this a while. I know from my background, from my perspective, that you are in service and you're coming at it from a very positive, loving approach. But how did you get into this work, specifically the theta healing?
As I briefly mentioned, in 2009, I'm at a luncheon of the BNI, it's Business Networking International, and I'm doing networking, my being in the community and being a part of that chapter. In fact, I was the vice president of it at the time. And she asked me about my weekend plans, and I didn't have any at the time. And she said, I'd like to offer you a scholarship. Now, at the end of 2008, there was a market adjustment. Massage work had fallen off a bit. And in 2009, when she offered me this scholarship, I thought this was a wonderful way to expand my knowledge and add another service that I could offer to the public and build up my practice, as this was going to be, you know, another aspect of it. And so that is when I took my very first DNA 3 class in Theta Healing. And while I'm sitting in that class, there were many things that the teacher would bring up to teach us. And I'd remember, oh, that's when my teacher told me that when I work on myself internally, I help 100 people, 100 generations back, and I help 100 generations forward. Now, a spiritual teacher can tell you something like that, but sitting in this class with this teacher, that started to make sense on a very different level for me. And then she mentioned something else in her teaching, and that sparked another, oh. And this went on for this weekend class. And when I finished this class, I felt like, my goodness, you had just taken all of my wands of knowledge, put them in a bouquet, and tied it up with a big red bow. And it's just how I felt walking out of there. So, of course, when she continued to tell me there's an advanced DNA 3 class, I wanted to take that and did. And I got certified at that point in time as a Theta healer. Now, that was, you know, coming into this. And the Theta healing work is about helping people who realize, I'd like to do better at this part of my life, but I feel like I'm blocked, or some negative programming that doesn't sit real well with them, a belief system that they feel doesn't serve them very well. And so this is a process and enables us to help the person release what they want to release. And then, you know, you don't ever leave an empty body energetically. So here we have what we call in today's language a download. And so here we have an opportunity to give a download to someone that's positive and reinforcing, and then that becomes part of their new program. And so Theta healing is, at this stage, which I've evolved to in it, and I go into that a little bit deeper in a moment, I feel that it is transformational work. With our scientists and advanced technology, we now know about epigenetics and the studies in quantum physics. And we also are learning about epigenomes. And so my work has evolved with the Theta healing background into what I call Theta Healing Creative Sessions.
Great. Well, and this is a very unique approach. I know that it's different. Can you kind of give us a rundown of what people might expect when they come to you for a session? What does that look like or feel like?
Yes, I can. And thank you for asking that, because I do have some case studies that I'm going to share so that you get, those listening, get a sense of what a session is like. I start out, now the premise here is that someone is troubled about something, someone's curious. Once someone makes an appointment, there's a phrase we use, you're now in the field. So when you're in the field, don't be surprised if some thoughts you have come up, because you may be thinking, I'd like to work on this aspect of my life. And in the meantime, something else comes up. And they get into the session, and we have what we start calling what the digging process was, the use, you know, Theta speak, use words. And so we work with asking questions, them, and they know that this is confidential. They know that they can relax and speak and not feel restricted in any way, because the atmosphere in theta work, see, I'm in a theta brainwave state while I'm awake working with my clients. And theta energy is a very calming energy. And so it really works very well for the person to feel comfortable, feel safe, know that it's confidential. And then we proceed with, I ask questions, and given their answers, creates my next question. Because belief systems stack, so to speak. Because if we believe this is true, then something comes along and, oh, well, if this is true, then this has to be true. And if that's true, well, then this has to be true. So what we're working to do is to release the bottom belief system, so that, or the trauma or the epigenome, and so that can be replaced with the positive energy, with positive downloads. So we do the releases first. We use kinesiology to muscle test the body so that the person knows that, yes, it's been released. I always begin the session by, tell me in your own words what we're doing, what you want to bring up and work on today. So I get their participation, then they get the reassurance that this is released. We create their download, ask them if they resonate with it, ask them if they'd like to add anything else. And often they do. And that then we go into the stage of, let's now do the downloads for them to receive. Then with kinesiology, we muscle test the body again so that they know that they've received it. So they're getting an assurance that they're safe, that they're being listened to, that they're being heard, that they can release this and let it go, that they can receive something new. And when I'm speaking of epigenomes, those are a cluster of amino acids. They're in the body and they hold a memory trigger or a memory cue. Now, we're getting this from our studies in epigenetics, and this is coming from a definition from epigenetics. So athletes know it as muscle memory. So here we have something that has happened to the person. They've been highly influenced. The body has been highly influenced, majorly influenced, traumatically influenced. You can put different words in there. And so then those epigenome is formed when those amino acids then attach to the amino acids of our DNA. So epigenetics definition goes ahead and says they don't change our DNA. However, they are inheritable down the line. So we could be born genetically with epigenomes on our DNA coming from an ancestor 200 years ago. So when she says, when we work on this, we help generations back as well as generations forward, that began to make a great deal of sense to me, because we're helping the lineage, the ancestors, and we're helping the fact that when we change this pattern, because this is a pattern, people can recognize, and I see when we get to talking, I see patterns. And so when we want to break that negative pattern, then we give it the positive reinforcement, the new download, which becomes then an epigenome attached to the DNA in every cell of their body, and it's new programming. So all kinds of subtle changes can even start happening in their lives right away. And so they have a new set of filters, a new set of ways of looking at things, a new understanding, and a new experience. And they've added some knowledge. So they can work with that as they go forward. And then that epigenome isn't inheritable down the line anymore because it's been released. So that's very basic. I don't want to get too technical, but this is a very feeling type of work. And I, like I said, am in a theta brainwave state. And so I am hearing, and this is important. I always ask the person, how do you relate to your divine? Do you use the word God? Do you use the word spirit? Do you use the word source? Do you use the word great spirit? I've had from some Native American people. I've worked with children. The youngest, I believe, was 14. I've worked with families, and I've worked with individuals, and from all walks of life and all different cultures. So knowing their cultural background is something I get into, because a lot of our belief systems come from our familial traditions, religious beliefs, ceremonials, beliefs, customs and things like that. So putting all of this together in their session very clearly and very succinctly, and answering any questions, as best I can as they come up with them. So at the very end now, we also know from advanced technology in these quantum physics studies that besides the neurobiological transmitters of the brain, there are now over 40,000 neurocytes that transmit from the heart. So now, in the earlier days, I didn't know that I involved with it. And now, the last thing I like to do in the session is to do a deep guided meditation. I'm the guide, they're safe, I'm witnessing this. And all of our 5 internal yin organs, the heart, the lungs, the liver, the stomach, spleen, and the kidneys, those are called internal yin organs. And they all have a primordial sound. So what we're going to do, and I can't do this for them, no one can, only the individual can sing the sad song of their heart. So we've all been wounded, we've all had heartbreaks, or felt betrayed, or felt, whatever it's been for them, whatever has caused us some pain and suffering in our heart. And so when you can tone your heart tone, when you can tone that primordial sound, you are releasing and singing the sad song of your heart, releasing all of that sad, hurtful energy. So when that brings it full circle for them, they've released, they've received, and they have released the sad song of their heart. And then they can go forward from that and see and pay attention to just how many things in their life start to change, subtly for the better, sometimes dramatically for the better. It's up to them.
So, so if we have lived our lives around a traumatic event, or with anxiety, or with sadness and depression, it can find its way into physical form in our DNA. And
Yes.
you're also suggesting that from generations in the past, we're carrying some of their trauma or their fear or their anxieties in their DNA that you have or I have inherited. We have that. And if we're aware of that, then you can give your client a way of not only identifying that, but changing their vibration. And so altering or eliminating some of the blockages or the trauma that has manifested in their DNA.
Yes.
So let me ask you, can you give us a couple of specific examples of people that have come to you, so people will kind of have a frame of reference on, wow, that's happened for me, or I know somebody that would benefit from this. Let's make sure Katherine gets a chance to work with them.
I'd love to do that. And thank you, John. Yes, I have prepared. I've chosen 3 case studies to briefly mention each one. and give a little background on it so that the people listening can get a sense of the broad spectrum of how this has helped people from different ages and different educations and all. And I will also say this work can also be done remotely. In other words, they don't have to be in my workspace for me to do these sessions. I actually have clients, some in England, one in Sweden, a couple in Canada, a lady in a village in Mexico. So besides people that are, within my radius here that can, travel to see me in my workspace. So this doesn't need to be for just those who live here. So I wanted to make that clear. So the first case study is a young male teenager. He's 14, and his mother knows of my work, has experienced my work, both in massage and theta healing, and knows how it helped her. When her son came home from school, very upset, and told her what had happened, she asked me if I would be willing to work with him. And I said, yes. You're going to sign off permission, and yes, I will work with him. So she brings him over, and she's told me that when he was in 5th grade, he had a 5th grade teacher say to him, "You are stupid, and you're never going to amount to anything." Well, this young man at age, what is 5th grade? Age 10, very impressionable. That created an epigenome, because then his grades started to fall. He started acting out. He had a reputation, teacher to teacher. And so he's in his class, his 8th grade class, and he knows he's not going to pass. He knows he's going to have to repeat a grade. And he's there in his class, and the teacher gives them an assignment. And she tells the class, now I want you to break up into groups and work on this. And no one is allowed to work with him. That's how she isolated him out. And he came home and told his mom, and he was very upset. Part of it, he had to admit, he's not, at 14, he's not unwise, but he's very upset because he knows he's been acting out. And he knows there's consequences for that. But to be isolated like that out in front of his peers is what really got to him. Excuse me. So we start to work. And I said, tell me in your own words how I can help you. That I know this is about your schooling. The first words out of his mouth was, I hate school. So then I asked him, what would you like to do when you finish school? What would you like to do as you move on in your life? And he mentioned a few things. And I said, don't you think that having an education would help you do those things that you'd like to do? And we went from there into releasing this for him, muscle tested it, created a download, did the download, muscle tested that. And then at that time in the theta healing world, we were working with, let's reinforce this for someone. So let's recognize that when something happens in our lives, it happens for a reason, and we learn from it. So let's download the lessons that we've learned. Okay. So this is a young man who I thought I might have his attention for maybe 20 minutes max. He worked with me for 90 minutes. When I asked him about his lessons learned, I had to ask him to slow down on writing them as fast as I could. He gave me a list. And I thought he might say 1 or 2 things. So we downloaded the lessons. We brought it to a close. His mother was really happy about that, and off they went. the end of the story is his grades got better. He graduated high school, has a steady girlfriend, and has a great job right now that he loves doing. So that was that case study. A second case study is a professional woman. She is in human resources work. She's a highly educated, a master's degree. She's in a department in a company. She has a new, and she loves her work. She has a new supervisor. They don't get along. Supervisor says, "You're not working here anymore." And the whole HR community will be aware of the fact she isn't working there and what happened. So she was shell-shocked, went into depression. Her marriage was suffering at home. And she had a good marriage, and her husband, by the way, is a successful attorney. And they were even looking at legal ramifications of maybe her filing a case. So I'm at a Women Make a Difference luncheon, and she's at my table, and I introduce myself and say a little about my work as we went around the table. And she spoke to me afterwards and asked if she could have a session. And she wanted to really pull up out of this depression. So we did have a session. She enjoyed it. She was able to do her releases because, again, here's an epigenome on her DNA from the trauma that she went through going through this process of being fired. So she went ahead and did her downloads. We did the muscle testing each time. She had a very good session. She was excited about it when she left. She was feeling lighter in her demeanor. Her whole energy changed. And she looked like she was the profession, could be the confident, because she was lacking confidence. Her self-esteem were issues, things like that came up. And so those all got taken care of. And at the end, she realized when I checked in with her and followed up with her, she was happy. Marriage was back on in tune. And she realized she was creative and had other gifts and talents. So she went off and created a whole new career for herself. It was very successful at it. So that's that type of help from that aspect. And the third session, the third case study is a woman raising 2 boys, good family support, and she had been in an abusive marriage. Came out of that, went through therapy, loving life, living life, raising her boys, and that's when I met her. And again, it was at a networking event. And she asked for a session. And she happens to be the mother of the 14-year-old. So this is where she knew about my work and then asked me to work with her son. So she's had 2 or 3 sessions with me over the years. And this latest one was she admitted that now she loves to exercise, she's sociable. And because I haven't lived there for almost 3 years, I hadn't seen the decline. She was not going out socially. She was sexually assaulted in this abusive relationship. She didn't feel safe. She's also highly educated, working to finish her master's degree up, and she's in the counseling field. She'd been through a lot of therapy. She said she had tried several other avenues with other therapists to see if she could get beyond this. And she admitted to me in the follow-up that this worked. So we went ahead and did her releasing, muscle tested, did her downloads. I asked her if she wanted to add anything to it, and she said yes. And from my own experience and my own work, I learned how powerful these 4 little words are. It is my birthright. We're all come into this world and we're given a birthright of free will. It is always our choice. Even when we feel like we're between a rock and a hard place, it's always our choice. And so that was something that when my therapist working with me in one of my releases, and by the way, I've been through lots of theta work, getting my programming in a much better place. And so it's part of the experience I've had that helps me be a better therapist, or helps me be the therapist that I am today. And so the words, "it is my birthright," I asked my therapist to add to my download. Well, she has a way in a chart, and I have it too now. And she dowsed out that my download was going to be 120% powerful for me. Okay. What do I want to add? It is my birthright. I add that. She bedowses it out again. And all of a sudden, it's 170% powerful for me. So learning from that, that's something I actually recommend people put in their download if they resonate with that. So anyway, we did that with her. And then by this time, I know about the heart tone. And so then we finished her session with her singing her heart tone. And it's very subtle. You're not wailing, you're not crying. It's a very subtle, soft sound. You look into your heart and listen to hear your heart tone, and then you tone it. You can breathe in and tone on the out breath. And people know when they're complete with that. And I'm guiding, I'm there, and I might say something very softly like, "You're doing great." So I'm encouraging, I'm supporting, I'm witnessing, and this happens. And so they get to sing their heart tone, and it just shifts the energy. And if I may use that phrase. And so I check in with her. Oh, and she loves to exercise. She stopped exercising, binge eating, drinking beers in the afternoon, and put on 50 pounds. I left that part out. I didn't mean to do that. So here she has this weight on her. I don't look attractive anymore. And it's my shield. So we removed the shield, the epigenome. We gave her, she sang her heart tone. She goes forward, check back in with her. And she was so excited. She says, "I've exercised 3 times since our session. And I'm planning a trip to Seattle in September. So I'll even get to see her when she's up here visiting." And so there are many ways that this work can help us in many different walks of life. No matter where we come from, no matter how educated we are, no matter how salt of the earth we are. I am blessed to have known that this is one of my gifts. I have been blessed that I have been able to travel and study with my teachers, that I've been able to have my own experiences so that it makes me a better therapist. And it adds to me, this is my service to humanity. Part of my meditation work, and my studies go on with that too, and stuff I'm learning in my meditation classes gets integrated into my sessions because it's integrated into me. And so therefore, this is my way of helping to alleviate pain and suffering for someone so that they can live a more fulfilled, happy life. And I don't mean to sound trite when I say that. This is coming from me and coming from my heart.
This is wonderful. And the fact that you allow people to not be victims to what the world says about them, but within themselves, they
Yes.
find that their own foundation, they can take back the responsibility of putting the positive focus and goal and guidance back into their lives. People do this in a variety of ways, but I loved hearing your stories about how people can change and change with this theta healing process that you're willing to share with people. Now, when we build this YouTube interview, we're going to put some contact information in that so that people can get in touch with you and they'll hear just a little bit more about you so they can find you and they can take advantage of this or ask you questions if they wish to. So as we conclude, is there any other thoughts that you'd like to share with people as an invitation to read what's in the content part of our YouTube video and then get in contact with you?
Thank you for that opportunity, John. By the way, there are theta healers around the world. When this work got started in the 1990s, there are many trained theta healers around the globe. Because the woman who teaches this and who created this, her name is Vienna Steibel, and she traveled around the world and taught this and has teachers now that she approves, etc. So this isn't anything brand new. It began in the 90s. It's evolved, and I can be reached. We're going to put a phone number, and we're going to put an email, my business email address, in this information, so that yes, you can. And in fact, if emailing and or texting, probably, when in my days and in my work, a text message will catch my eye quickest. And I can respond to that as soon as I'm able. And I always like it when people leave me, if they're leaving me a text message or an email, letting me know when they're available so that I know a good time and day to get back to them. And I really know that there are many different types of therapies out there. So not everyone resonates with the same therapy. So I'm pleased to be able to add one that people can resonate with, and invite them. I do invite people to call and talk about their questions, hear more about my work. I myself got to this stage and evolved in this as a healer now because of all of the challenges that I've been through in my life and how many theta sessions I've had with my teachers and mentors, and all of the meditation classes I've taken, all of the interesting cultural studies I've done. It's all a part of me, and each of us has our stories. Each of us has our journey. And if I can help someone along their journey, I'm more than happy to do that.
Thank you.
And so thank you for letting me say that.
That's a blessing. We all need to be heard, and we all need to have the support. And even if you've been through other processes or other therapies or psychological issues, sometimes things are not resolved. Katherine might be able to find the proper vibration to help you not only have awareness and control, but to allowing you to move in an even more positive direction. Thank you for taking the time to share this with us, Katherine.
Thank you, John, for having me. Thank you for offering to do this interview.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting this out into our world, and if anybody has questions, they will contact you. Thank you again, Katherine.
I want to say that I am feeling very blessed and very grateful for this opportunity as we flow through our lives, and our lives touch many people. It's encouraging and fulfilling, gives my work meaning as I go through all these different sessions with people and help them with their lives. So I am just feeling very blessed as I wish everyone to have delightful and productive days, to have many blessings in their lives, and to enjoy their lives. And one of a favorite expression used is namaste.
Thank you once again. And to all of our viewers, thank you so much for joining us. Get in touch with Katherine if you have questions. Please take care of yourselves. Thank you.